Benjamin Netanyahu wins an unprecedented 5th term as prime minister here in Israel, and we are going to break it down for you. Hi, I'm Cantor, and this is Your Israel Connection. Your Israel Connection is brought to you by Tikkun Global, a worldwide Messianic family of congregations, leaders, and ministries dedicated to the restoration of Israel and the church, and Messiah's mandate, raising up leaders for the coming Israeli revival. Let's talk about the elections. So on Tuesday, we went to the polls and we voted for a new, well, not really a new prime minister, but a new government. You don't vote here for a person, you vote for the party. And the two primary parties that were running against each other amidst 40 other parties were the Likud, which you've probably heard of, the historic party of Ariel Sharon, of Benjamin Netanyahu, of Menachem Begin, against a brand new party called Kahol Lavan, in Hebrew, the blue and white party, the colors of our flag, led by former General Benny Gantz. And when we went to bed on Tuesday night, all the exit polls were saying that Benny Gantz's party had, well, the biggest lead, according to I-24, was a 6-seat lead, and then others had 2, 3, 4-seat lead. It looked like Gantz was going to be tasked with forming the next government. However, so many things happened while you're sleeping, because I woke up the next morning to find out that the exit polls were completely wrong, and they actually tied 35 seats to 35 seats. Now, a tie in this situation goes to Benjamin Netanyahu, and I will explain that in just a minute. But here's what I want you to understand. The media around the world, particularly in the West, had painted this as a battle between hardline, right-winger, racist Benjamin Netanyahu and left-wing Benny Gantz. That is not correct at all. Benny Gantz is not a left-winger. It was pretty much the right against the center-right. Now, we don't know a whole lot about Gantz other than that he was the leader of the army, and typically the leader of the army doesn't go off to become, super far to the left. But the issue was Netanyahu, the person that they were running against, not the policies of Netanyahu. However, again, the media would like to make it left versus right. There is no left in Israel. I want you to understand that. There is no left. It's gone. It's disappeared. There was a party called the Labor Party. It actually birthed the country. It was the party of Ben Gurion, our first prime minister. But now, out of 120 seats, they have 6 seats. I don't know if they've ever had lower than that. And combined with the other left-wing party, which is to the left of them, the super left-wing Meretz Party, they only have 11 seats. That is less than 10% of the government. Now you might be wondering, every country has a left and has a right. Why doesn't Israel? Well, we did. You remember back in the 90s when Yitzhak Rabin was prime minister? He led the Labor Party and was seeking a peace deal with the Palestinians. But what has happened since then? Terrorism, and then rockets, and terrorism, and then Hezbollah, and Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, Arafat, Abbas, and pretty much the majority of Israelis, even those who were formerly part of the Labor, part of Meretz, far left, have said that there is nobody to make peace with. Even though we want peace, even though we long for peace, even though we would gladly, many of them would gladly give up land for a real peace, there's nobody to negotiate with. If you go to the Palestinian Authority, you've got Mahmoud Abbas, who has been the leader without elections for about 15 years. In the Gaza Strip, you have Hamas, which took power in 2006. We left Gaza in 2005, unilaterally, without a peace deal, without concessions. We just took 10,000 Israelis out of Gaza, thinking they're going to look at us and see that we don't want to take their lands. We just want peace. So we're going to forcibly remove our own people, and then the Hamas and all the Palestinians in Gaza will see that our intentions are good. Didn't work out that way. We have received over 100,000 rockets since 2005. Because what we perceived as a gesture of goodwill in their minds was weakness. And they seized on that. So there's no left. Because Israelis understand there's nobody to make peace with, at least not right now. Again, most Israelis would love peace. So what you had was not Netanyahu right wing against Gantz, Netanyahu against center right Gantz. And Gantz was not running against the policies of Netanyahu. He didn't go on TV and say, Netanyahu believes this, but I believe this. No, he says, I don't like Bibi, you don't like Bibi, we need change after 10 years. Now, you might be saying, if you live in America, why don't you like Bibi? Now, personally, I'm not giving you my opinion, left, right, middle, up, down. I'm reporting to you. I'm telling you what happens here. You got to understand that. I voted. I'm not going to tell you who I voted for, but I voted. In Israel, our prime minister, been in power for 10 years, he is right now recommended for indictment by the attorney general. There are 3 very serious charges against him, all connected to bribery and corruption, and more than likely, well, not more than likely, he will go before a grand jury probably in the next 6 to 9 months. And he could be convicted. He could actually go to jail. Gantz was running on the platform. In fact, his whole entire slogan could have been, I'm not Netanyahu. I'm not Bibi. Vote for me. Why? Because he was saying, you don't want Bibi because he is possibly going to be in a trial. Can you have a prime minister on trial at the same time as he's running the country? How can he look out for you and look out for himself at the same time? I'm not going to trial, Gantz would say, so vote for me. Again, understand, left-wing media in America, this was not peace-loving left-wing versus hardcore right-wing hardliner. This was a center-right general saying you don't want a prime minister under indictment. In the end, they tied. And I have to say, for the blue and white, it was a historic showing. Look, a brand new party winning 35 seats. It was a big deal, but they still lost. And so now what do we have? In Israel, the way it works is that at the end of the elections, the president, his name is Reuven Rivlin, and I have to tell you, even though he's in the same party as Netanyahu, they don't even talk to each other. They pretty much hate each other. They're not buddies. And Rivlin's job, he probably would have liked to give the reins of power to blue and white, even though he's part of Likud. That's how much he dislikes Netanyahu. But he will now go to Bibi and he'll say, all right, Bibi, you got to form a government. Now, you've won 35 seats. You need 26 seats more to get to at least 61 to have a coalition. You can't have a coalition with 60 or 59. You need 51% in order to form a coalition. That often happens within a 3-week period. But if for some reason Benjamin Netanyahu cannot do that, then they'll turn to the blue and white and say, you give it a try. Now, already Bibi has enough people, probably 64. But here's the problem. When you have such a small coalition, 64 is not a huge number, and the smallest party is 4 seats. So any party that's part of this coalition, that if they get offended one day, if they get upset at a policy one day, if they feel that the prime minister is not looking out for their party, they can leave the coalition and dissolve the government overnight. Part of my concern as a Messianic Jew is that Bibi's coalition will include 2 ultra-Orthodox parties, the Shas party and United Torah Judaism. Now, Shas in particular, is very much anti-Messianic. They have kicked Messianic Jews out of the country. They have stalled, because they typically control the interior ministry. So if you go there as a Messianic Jew and say, praise God, even though I am a Messianic Jew, I'm at least 1/4 Jewish, I want to take advantage of the law of return that says anybody with 1/4 Jewish blood can make aliyah, move to Israel, have instant citizenship. They would say, oh, we lost your paperwork. Oh, what was your name again? Months could go by, years could go by, you can't work, and they will suffocate you out of the country. And it concerns me that they won 8 seats. That is much more than we thought they were going to win. United Torah Judaism, also an ultra-Orthodox right-wing group, they won 8 seats as well. So that they would make up about 1/4 of the coalition. That is something that concerns me. Another thing that is interesting, that in large numbers, young people, our millennials voted for Bibi, more so than older people. That's pretty much the opposite of what we see in America. you had lots of young people who voted for Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party. Now, why would they do that? Well, for a lot of them, they're concerned more about security than anything else. And they see that the Likud party is going to keep them secure, that they take the issue of protecting Israel more serious than any other party. So the other reason is that for many of these young people, Benjamin Netanyahu is the only leader they've ever known. Under Netanyahu, Israel's economy has blossomed, exploded. We have one of the most stable economies in the world. Under Netanyahu, we have been kept safe. Under Netanyahu, and again, this is something that even folks on the left have to admit, the ones who hate him so much, is that he's done something that no other leader has ever done here. He has made inroads with Saudi Arabia. They have become secret friends of Israel. Why? Because they're more concerned about Iran than they are about us. In addition to that, he has made inroads with Oman, Bahrain, and other Arab nations that we don't even know about. Just last week, we reported to you that a Somali diplomat said we need relations with Israel. Why? Because these countries, they want to understand our technology. We have so many startup companies, they want that technology. They want to understand our medical industry. They want to understand all of our breakthroughs here. Agriculturally, you know how much we help Jordanian farmers? You would be shocked. Israel, despite the fact that everyone around us hates us, we help so many people, and we love doing that. And it has blossomed under Benjamin Netanyahu. Love him? Again, I know for you, you love him. But to Israelis, I want to say, love him or hate him. He's done a remarkable job as prime minister. Okay, so also I want to share with you about Naftali Bennett and Ayelet Shaked. They used to be part of what was called the Jewish Home Party. The problem with the Jewish Home Party, it was both secular and religious at the same time. And they wanted a completely secular right-wing party. So they left the Jewish Home Party. They started what's called the New Right Party. And they thought, okay, and at one point they were polling 8-9 seats. To their great shock, they didn't get in at all. They got 0 seats. Because again, you have to get at least 4 seats to get 1 seat. They got just under the threshold. Out of 3.25%, they got 3.23%. 0.02%. Now they're doing a recount, and maybe they will get. I hope they get it. I like Bennett. I think he's he's great for the country. He once said, very creative guy, he once said to a Chinese delegation of businessmen, he said, we have to stick together because between us, we are more than 1 billion people, which is funny because China alone is more than 1 billion people. But he did something really neat one time, is he dressed up as a homeless guy. And this is when he was running for office in 2011, and he kept bumping into people. And each time he'd bump into people, he'd go, "Ani mitnatzel, ani mitnatzel, ani mitzta'er." What does that mean? I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm sorry. And then at the end of the video, he takes off his tachposet, how do you say tachposet? Costume. He takes off his, I'm forgetting English. He takes off his costume and he says, enough, Israel, stop apologizing. And what he's saying is that we don't need to apologize for being the nation of Israel anymore. God has birthed this nation, rebirthed it in 1948. We're 71 years old. We're not going anywhere, and we don't care what the other nations say anymore. We're not going to apologize for existing. So I got to say that I'm a little bit upset that him and the Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked are no longer going to be in the government. I think they're good for the country. Okay, so that's it for our election coverage. Now I want to talk about 2 more things. But first, I want you to see this video. And then I want you to go to tikkuncares.org. And you can see all the different projects that we're getting behind. At Tikkun, we really love to bless the ministries here in Israel. Watch the video, go to tikkuncares.org, and make your best donation.
I believe very much that art and music, it's come from God, so that we introduce kids to something high in land of Israel with Jewish-Messianic influence. About 9 years ago we started our school, and major idea it was to protect kids from poor families from street.
אז חשבנו לפתוח את זה לאנשים שלא יכולים להרשות לילדים שלהם ללמוד בקונסרבטוריון שכבר קיימים.
Today we have about 120-130 students, kids, and about 85 kids it's from not believers families. It's a really full format music school. Every child receives private lesson in his profession. It's mean or piano, violin, or flute, or drum, or guitar, or something else. It's also class of theory, and also it's core that kids together develop voice. Kids in our school not study only music. It's also painting lessons, so you can see healthy paint. So you through paint or through music, you can hear heart of kids, and you see that it's much more healthy.
אנחנו חושבים שכל ילד הוא צריך לדעת לנגן בכלי נגינה, כי זה עוזר לו בהתפתחות. זה כמו לשון של הנפש.
Very often we make concerts. So for these concerts we invite also their parents. For them it's opportunity to see what happened in congregation and with different styles of our activity. We see in our congregation kids after studying school, they already play music in our worship team, and also from Arabic congregations, from other congregations. They study, they develop their abilities, and they serve. Cost of education, it's about, together with all expenses, it's come to almost $90,000 per year. And we can cover by money that we receive from parents, it's about $40,000. So every year we stay before challenge to cover extra $50,000. But God's help, God's provision, always He find for us somebody to cover extra. You know, many kids come specifically from poor families, but also this aliyah problems, and they have different syndromes. So after a while, even parents tell us, children operate different, something change in them.
יש משהו בילדים שלנו, יש איזשהו שינוי גם באופי, גם בהתנהגות, זה נוגע בלב.
Thank you very much that you help us to reach Israelis through music.
Okay, I want to share with you just two non-election stories before we go today. The first one is about the moon. We're getting ready to land on the moon tonight. Israel could become the fourth nation on planet Earth to land on the moon. We sent up this lunar thingamajigger about, I think it was in January, and it's been hanging out in space for about 2 or 3 months, 4 months, and going around the moon. And tonight, it's supposed to land on the moon. If all goes well, the engineers are going to maneuver it out of orbit, and boom, it's going to land on the moon. It's going to take pictures. There's an Israeli time capsule, music, maybe there's a falafel, something like that. And it's really cool that tiny little Israel could be the fourth nation to land on the moon. The final story I want to share today is about our favorite Democratic Congresswoman, and that is Ilhan Omar, who continues to say the most outlandish things and then gets really mad at people when she's held accountable for saying the most outlandish thing. Now, she's talked about Israel hypnotizing the world and how the Jews control this and that. If you are pro-Israel, that it means you have dual loyalty and da-da-da-da-da. This week, she referred to 9/11. Now, just in case you don't remember, she might not remember. 9/11 is when 19 Middle Eastern Islamic fundamentalist terrorists flew airplanes into the Twin Towers into the Pentagon and would have gone into the White House if the passengers didn't take them down in Pennsylvania. Remember that 9/11, 3,000 people died? Well, she said that CARE is, I can't remember what it stands for, but it is a pro-American Muslim group. And I want to be clear, I am not against people defending the rights of American Muslims or Christians or whatever group that you're a part of. America is a place of freedom. Nobody should be persecuted for being any religion in America. However, she was talking about why CARE came about, and it was because after 9/11, Muslims got persecuted and were judged by Americans. She referred to 9/11 as some people did some things. Some people did some things. Now, to be clear, the some people were Islamic fundamentalist terrorists, people who want to kill in the name of Islam. They want to take over the world. Those are the some people. The some things that they did was bring down the 10 towers on top of 3,000 people. Some people did some things. Are we clear? Now, she was called to account for these words by Congressman Dan Crenshaw, who's also a freshman congressman. Remember, he's one eye because he lost his eye defending America. Here she is tearing down America. He's defending America. And he called her to task for this. And she got offended because when you're a victim, you don't have to be accountable for your words. And she's a victim. She's part of a minority group. And if you're part of a minority group, you can say whatever you want. And he's a white male, so he can't say anything. And she said, it's because of you, Dan Crenshaw. And she also blamed Brian Kilmeade. And she said, because of what you said against me, people are trying to kill me. It's not right. Listen, stop. Just stop. Just stop it. You know you don't believe that. You know it's rhetoric, Ilhan. Just stop already. But you know what? Friends, I guarantee you this. She's not going to stop. Do you know why she's not going to stop? Because this is the game they're playing. Her and Rashid Tlaib and AOC, Alexandria, Ocasio, Cortez. That is the game they're playing. It's say the most outlandish things you can imagine and watch the media cover you. Do you understand? The minute they start talking responsibly, they will not be on Yahoo anymore. They will not be on Fox News or MSNBC. The minute they just... Do you notice that they're the only 3 congressmen covered? You never hear anything from any of the other 40 new Democratic freshman congressmen or congresswomen. Why? Because they don't say dumb stuff like that. But I can't listen. If you're listening and you are one of the 40 new fresh faces on the Democratic Party, if you want to get more press coverage, just say Israel's anti-Muslim. Israel wants to take over the world. The Jews control the world. You'll be on TV. You can say that America's racist. You'll be on TV. Just say something really crazy like Israelis are about to land on the moon. No, we're actually really going to do that. Say something crazy and you will be on TV. So listen, Ilhan, we're going to hold you accountable for your words. We got to. And you know that. And I know it's a game you're playing, but I just hope they will stop saying stupid stuff. But they're not. So don't hold your breath. All right, friends, that is all we have for today. I want to say one thing last before we leaving. Happy birthday, Tel Aviv. Today is the 110th birthday of Tel Aviv. I was this morning sharing with about 70 tourists in Jaffa at the home of Simon the Tanner, where Peter was having his vision, and we were having a great time talking about Acts 10. And I told them about the history of Tel Aviv. 1909, 66 families came to I'm looking out the window. You can't look out the window. But buildings everywhere, billboards everywhere. It was sand dunes, and they built modern Tel Aviv. So, say a prayer for Tel Aviv today. Happy birthday, Tel Aviv. And I'll see you guys next week. I love you. I bless you. I need you to like. I need you to share. Like, share, right? We can do that. Love you. Shalom. God bless you. Bye.